Okay, this is why you don't have a mental health patient or DIYing because this is why it's not the ideal. Here goes. Oh, something simple as this. It's unclear, but it's clear to a professional. Um, the diagnosis was not incorrect in the sense that it reflected a working diagnosis being employed. Now, if each time you're going out there, the diagnosis is correct because it reflects a working diagnosis, and there's a lack of observation. If going out there through not being observation and simply going on what's in the past and saying, yes, the person's got a diagnosis of that, without looking for and observing each time to whether the person has it, isn't diagnosis coming from looking for and observing at the time you're in there to see if you have symptoms, and from that identifying them and saying that the person has the symptoms and giving evidence that these symptoms have been identified. Now, if it's done just on a working diagnosis that you're going along with, and the person doesn't get an individual diagnosis of still having or presenting the symptoms each time he's in and out, is there a lack of diagnosis over the years each time a person's in and out, in that if no symptoms are observed each time they just go, oh, well, it's a working diagnosis, someone said he had it in the past? I mean, is there a flaw here? On this particular one, I'm not qualified. Well, naturally, I'm not qualified in any of this, but I'd like this to be looked at and answered. You can make of it what you want. And this is the end of issue number 3. I'll go on. Okay, issue 4, I'll run through it quickly. How has the Trust been complying with the Royal College of Psychiatrists' guidance and recommendations for psychiatric services for adolescents and adults with Asperger's syndrome and other autistic spectrum disorders outlined in the Council Report CR136? Now, that Council Report goes back 10 years, so you have to evidence over the last 10 years how you've been complying with the guideline, or if you've been using the guideline. Okay, I have to address this. It's a pretty technical report, whatever, so all I can do is give a sort of synopsis of it, or whatever you want to call it. Here goes. The Trust has supported the development of a specialist clinic for attention deficit disorder. That's not what I'm interested in. Oh yes, it supports local initiatives to improve awareness. Well, the obvious question there is, you support local initiatives at places such as the Claybrook Centre, etc. Now, local initiatives, what does that mean? Does that mean that in the actual hospital of Charing Cross, on the psychiatric wards, you're looking out for it? When you say local initiatives, you mean you look out for it outside of the hospital? If that's the case, inside in the hospital with adults, are you looking out for it to people being admitted who haven't been to the Claybrook Centre? And are you looking out for it in adults that are in there that have had another diagnosis to see whether or not they have an autistic spectrum disorder? That's one. Well, the next point is, it's very easy. In the Claybrook Centre, development of a specialist clinic for attention deficit disorder and autistic spectrum disorders, and it's run by Dr. Christopher Muller-Pollard, a consultant psychiatrist who has a special interest in these conditions. Now, the development of the centre outside of the hospital, where you may or may not already be looking out for it and diagnosing for it, the development implies that you're putting in process looking out for it. Well, if that's the case, according to CR136, over the last 10 years, have you not been looking out for it and diagnosing it? I'll go on to the next point, and then this is absolute nonsense, because this is someone that's an analysis that someone else should be coming up with, or to be able to come up with better, which is a flaw in this DIY approach. Okay, this bit's easy. Dr. Christopher Mullard, the consultant psychiatrist, has a special interest in this. So anyone that comes in front of him, he'll be looking out to see whether or not that person's autistic. And if anyone should know, if the person in front of him is lucky enough to have Dr. Pollard, he should know. So if you're autistic, he'll spot it. Well, he was my doctor over the years, and I saw him a couple of times, and I've no complaints against him. He's quite a nice guy. But seeing as I was diagnosed at Charing Cross Hospital with, I don't know how much input he had in that. I don't think he had any. Not Charing Cross, at the Maudsley as being autistic. When he was in front of me, or I was in front of him, and I was autistic, and he's a specialist in autism, how come he didn't spot that I was autistic? Was it that he wasn't on the lookout for it? Or was it that he might have been on the lookout for it, but he hadn't the processes in place to do anything, even if he did observe it? I'd like to know why I was in front of him and he didn't put down anything about me being autistic in my notes.